It's a pretty breezy day today, having some coffee. This is going to be the final episode of our London food hunt and also happens to be our last day in London. So, as per our usual tradition, let us talk about our experience in London as a couple of food tourists for about slightly more than 3 weeks. Let's talk about the food first, right? Since we are a food channel. We have tried quite a number of traditional British foods. Their English breakfast in a very proper greasy spoon, fish and chips in a neighbourhood store,
Beef Wellington.
at a pretty expensive restaurant. Also Sunday rolls at the same restaurant.
Yeah, and sausage roll.
Yeah, sausage roll in the market, Scotch egg
And afternoon tea.
in one of the oldest tea salons in London. Even some reimagined medieval British foods. There's some amazing food, right? Dinner by Heston Blumenthal. A proper 2 Michelin star restaurant. It's really amazing lah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say generally the food in London is quite diverse. You can get literally everything, anything really. You've got udon, you've got ramen, Indian. I think because they have a pretty huge Indian community here, so Indian food is really popular. Chinese food definitely. You do get some rather authentic Chinese foods, especially Cantonese food. Roast duck in particular is very good. They've got pizza and pasta. We didn't try any pizza, but we did try a couple of pastas. Pretty decent stuff.
And pastry.
Yeah, they've got a few bakeries. Surprisingly, not as many as Paris. They are decent. If you do not bring Paris into the picture. If you bring Paris, then they're alright lah. Yeah.
Food is generally okay to decent.
Yeah, for example, Bancone and Padella, 2 big gourmand pasta restaurants. Very good textured fresh pasta. Flavors are decent, it's okay.
Yep.
And Dishum, a chain Indian store, very decent and I would say to a certain extent rather authentic
Yeah.
Indian cuisine. Yeah.
And shoyu.
Yeah, shoyu. Surprisingly pretty decent tonkotsu ramen store. I think better than Malaysia lah. I actually think it's better than Malaysia.
Yeah.
Slightly. Yeah. But what I noticed is actually the price point of the foods. It's a bit difficult for us to wrap our head around. Not just because we are Malaysians, but also because like coming from Paris and from Rome, London food is really expensive. Like you pay between £12 to £15-16 for pasta. And it's not like a lot of pasta lah. It's
Yeah, the portion is quite small actually.
considered a little smaller than we have liked. Basically the food here is like around 10 to £15 for like very regular food. And when you go into like the proper restaurant range, you probably look at £20, 20 odd pounds for a main course, starters maybe 15 to 20, I don't know. It is expensive. I mean the food here is not bad. As we say, it's okay to decent, it's quite decent. A lot of food is decent, but what you find is you are paying a lot of money for decent food. So it does feel a bit steep in pricing. Yeah, it's quite painful for us. Remember when I was doing Paris and I was saying that Paris was really expensive? Oh, in comparison, Paris is so much like more value for money now. Right, and Italy as well. London is really expensive.
At least I can find a croissant with
Yeah, 150 euro. 1 euro to 150 euro.
Yeah.
Like I think Isabel is 150 euro. Yeah, here is £310. And it's not that good. I mean it's decent, but it's far from what you can get in Paris. I'm not dissing London by the way, just telling how we feel as a tourist. My guess is one of the reasons why it's so expensive now is maybe because of inflation. As I understand from some of the friends here in London is that there was Brexit, so prices went up, and then there's COVID, so there's another inflation. In fact, we experienced this during our 3 weeks here. It's like there's this Cantonese roast duck that we frequent, and the price went up by like 1 to 150 pounds, which is quite a lot for one portion of duck rice. So yeah, the inflation is real.
If you come to London with limited budget, perhaps fast food is your friend.
Yeah, especially McDonald's, I think. McDonald's has this thing I noticed because we were trying to save money as well. We have a limited budget, believe it or not. They have this 99 pence chicken mayo burger. You can add unlimited mayo and lettuce, which is great. You can actually get a meal for £3. You get the small fries, it's another 99 pence, and you get a small soft drink. So it's £3. It's pretty worth it. I think it really saves a lot of money. The other one will be supermarket foods, but generally supermarket foods it's not great, it's not great. Yeah. But talking about the flavors of fast food, right? Comparing to Malaysian McDonald's, I think you'll be disappointed. It's very similar.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more expensive. The dip is good though. They have got this sweet curry dip and their barbecue dip is generally of a better quality than what we have in Malaysia.
Even ketchup.
Yeah, even ketchup. Yeah, ketchup is good. Ketchup is good.
Yeah.
We tried other fast foods as well, right? Burger King Five Guys, Shake Shack, and they have this local chain called Honest Burgers. I wouldn't call it a fast food exactly because it's kind of like you order and then they cook it to your order. So it takes a while. I think they are the best burger in terms of quality. They always get that consistently pink patty, which is quite nice. But flavor-wise, I think Burger King does best in flavor balance. Yeah.
Another place that will be your friend, Pret.
Yeah, Pret is basically the breakfast spot like all over the place. It's called Pret a Manger. It's like a French-based cafe.
Chain?
As I understood it, it originates from UK. So there's a place you go for your breakfast generally. It's not very cheap, but it's available very early and it's all over the place. The ingredients are generally fresh. Flavors could be lacking somewhat, but you know, just grab your coffee before you go out and then grab a sandwich or something. Yeah, so that's Pret for you. Yeah, we actually had a lot of Pret throughout our trip. If you're Chinese like us or you crave Chinese food, right, you have to stay near Chinatown. One of the good places to save money is all you can eat buffets. There's one place that does it quite well. It's called Yang Cheng. They have got a very similar flavor to, I would say, Cantonese flavor. Very suited for Malaysian Chinese palate. If you eat there, I think it's 13 to 14 pounds. But if you take out, it's 750. What we do is we always take out, because in one meal we can't eat a lot actually. So it's not worth it to pay 40 pounds for us.
Yeah.
They give you a small plastic container and you stuff it, like you stuff it. As long as you can cover it with the lid, you are good, you are golden. So you learn to, you know, slot your spring rolls into the crevices and stuff. Yeah, we got pretty good at it because we ate it nearly daily, right? So if you're a big eater, go for their buffets. You know, you can eat a lot of rounds. Hopefully you're like a camel, so you don't have to eat anymore. I don't know. Personally, for us, I think the most value for money is probably the Cantonese roast duck.
The meat texture and the flavor is better than Malaysia.
Unless you go to a really proper Malaysian restaurant, for example, Travelling Duck, I think that's the easiest way to put it. Travelling Duck is pretty close to what they call London roast duck.
Yeah.
But here it's still better. It's pretty value for money because you get one roast duck for 30 odd pounds.
31?
No, it used to be 31, it went up. It's not like 35 pounds. They went up by like nearly 4 pounds. Right. And if you buy one portion, it's quite a huge portion as well. It's about 11.50. At this place called Goldmine. Goldmine is the place we frequent, not Four Seasons. Even though Four Seasons is more famous. But I personally think Goldmine is actually significantly better. Their roast duck has way better oil fragrance, way better umami. So there you go. Roast duck is great in London. I also find that because the food here is so expensive on the base level, as you move up, like you move into the Michelin star range, it starts to seem more and more like a bargain. Allow me to explain why. Especially when you move up to 2-3 Michelin star level, you start noticing that the price point isn't exactly that far off compared to other countries. It's actually pretty similar. And you do get amazing restaurants, not all of them, but of the few that we have tried, some of them have been really amazing. In particular, Dinner by Heston Blumenthal. Really very strong 2 Michelin star, very very good, and I would say very value for money for their tasting menu. And for the 3 stars, Alain de Rose is pretty good, it's very proper 3 star. A lot better than some of the 3 stars that we're trying in other countries, I'll be honest. The best is probably Fat Duck. I know it's not in London, technically it's in Bray, but it's close enough. Fat Duck was amazing. Fat Duck is actually on our bucket list, along with Arpège in Paris. It's one of our bucket list places to eat, and we are glad we managed to secure our spot. And it's not just great, it's very similar to Arpège, but in a different style. Arpège is where Chef Alain Passat showcases the vegetables in their rawest flavor, using all this really amazing produce, magical produce to create dishes. Fat Duck is like, they use very good produce as well, but it's about the science behind it. Like how they dehydrate the beetroot and turn it into like a macaron. And there's this very beautiful flow where you start off with things that makes you salivate, and then they move on to better and better courses. And all these theatrics, these amazing things, simple stuff like bread with jam, which is insane in flavors. Eating cereal in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, that taste of English breakfast.
Yeah.
I think maybe the dish that really impressed me the most was the sound of the sea, where you listen to an iPod to the sound of the sea, like in the beach, and you eat something that resembles a beach and the sea, and it really tastes like it. It's like you are literally at a beach, and you just pull up the sand and you start biting into the sand, and it tastes great. That's how I put it. This dish has been around for a long time in the Fat Duck. Yeah, that was great. Basically, the whole meal, it didn't feel like they slacked off at any point in time. It was great from start to finish. So ultimately, the conclusion for the food in London is, if you're at a base level, you're trying street foods, you're trying basic foods, you can get decent foods, very expensive. as you move up, you start moving into the Michelin range, it makes more and more sense because you pay that much anyway. Like, again, when you go to Fed Up, it's very much worth the price. Yeah. So that's it for our general food thought of London. Let us move on to the cost of living, which is insane, as you can probably already tell from the price of the foods here. I'm not sure how cheap you can go when you're staying in London, because for us, we carry gear and stuff. We wanted to stay in a relatively secure spot and a spot where we have easier access to central London. So we stayed in this place called Lincoln Street. It's a pretty good place. It's expensive, not gonna lie, about £200 if you average out. But it's good lah. It's a fairly good sized room. You have got microwave, you have got table and chairs, television, like a stove, cutlery, pots and pans, you get kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a mini one-room apartment, which I think is very worth it. I mean, compared to Rome is really bad. If you watch the Rome episode, you will know it's really bad, the place. And it's the same price, right? Yeah. Paris is all closer, but this is the best so far we have stayed in. And it's actually at London School of Economics. What's the area called? It's at
It's just next to a Covent Garden.
it's next to Covent Garden. What is it called?
Kingsway.
It's Kingsway, is it? Okay, we stayed in Kingsway. I'm sorry, I don't know where I'm staying. We stayed in Kingsway. Yeah, it's a nice spot lah, and for the price you're paying, it's a good spot lah. Yeah.
But this is not sponsored.
Oh yeah, this is not a sponsor. We actually paid everything. Yeah, it's not a sponsor. There are also a lot of markets for you to visit, like food markets. We visited a few, of course, the most famous legendary Borough Market for their foods. There are a few interesting ones as well, like Portobello Market, very nice antique vintage market with some food, and there are these nice houses.
Notting Hill.
Yeah, Notting Hill.
With different colours.
Like, yeah, really nice pastel colours. I think the most fun is Camden. Camden Market is amazing. There are like small pockets of different stuff that they're selling, and there's so much food around all the food markets and stuff. We didn't try their food, but it was exciting. So if you are here, you should visit these markets. It's very exciting. And of course, not to forget the parks. Hyde Park, Primrose Hill looking outwards to the entire landscape of London. Regent Park, St. James Park. Basically all the parks are really nice. They are very well maintained and managed. It's a great experience. Definitely visit these parks. Okay, the next part, talking about the people here. I would say generally people are really friendly. Honestly, like compared to Paris or Rome, it's like a world of difference. People here are really friendly, especially the locals, I would say. It feels safer as well. Yeah, today is the last day. I hope it will maintain that way until we go home. I mean, compared to Rome, where we lost our camera and the amount of scams all around the place. I mean, you still have scams here in some touristy spots, but it's not that widespread. Generally, it's been safe for us. We were still diligent, but it's been safe. Yeah. Ultimately, I think for me, I love London. I like it a lot. It's a nice place. I mean, if you're making pounds, yeah, I guess it's fine. Not when you're making ringgit Malaysian. So do you like London? I think she's a 50-50, I'll be honest. I think she's a 50-50. Yeah.
Because I couldn't find my bread here.
Yeah, she likes Paris more, right? Yeah, because Paris is just pastries, lots of pastries. So there you go, our 3 weeks as a food tourist in London. Hope you have enjoyed our entire series of London so far, and we will see you in the next episode where we tour some other places. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this food vlog. If you did, do consider giving us a thumbs up. If you're here to subscribe, do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell button. Till we eat again in the next episode. I don't know where we're going. It could be Malaysia, it could be elsewhere. But see you. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.